Just give them a minute. Okay, I might start admitting people now. Hi everyone, we're just waiting for other people to join. Hi everyone, we'll start around 7 o'clock. We've still got a couple of minutes. We'll let other people join. now 7 o'clock. Are you happy for us to give them another minute, Bethany? Okay, I think we might make a start if that's okay. Excuse me. Welcome everyone to the webinar as presented by WAXO. For those that don't know, we support P&Cs and parent organisations in WA. My name is Debbie and I'm just here to facilitate the webinar. Your microphones are currently turned off, mostly just to minimise the amount of background noise, but please feel free to add any questions that you have into the chat. We should get to them at the end, and if not, you will get contact details for more information. This webinar is being recorded and we will send the recording to all those who registered, along with some links and information and whatnot provided by Bethany. This will also be uploaded to our website. We also have Bethany Moore, who's the Community Development Coordinator for Western Australia Return Cycle Renew. I hope I got that right, but you probably know them better as Containers for Change. So Containers for Change are a platinum sponsor of WAXO. They come along to our conference, they have an exhibitor's booth and they give a presentation to our delegates, which is always very well received. And we are presenting this webinar tonight to support Containers for Change because their values align so closely to ours. Not only do they support our affiliates to meet their sustainability goals, but they also help them raise funds along the way, which is always an extra benefit. So I will now pass you along to Bethany. Thanks, Bethany.
Great. Thanks so much, Debbie. Thank you so much for having me. I'll just share my screen there. There we go. Awesome. So you can see that one, Debbie?
Yes.
It's all good. Great. All right. Perfect. Well, thanks so much for having me, as I say. Hopefully I can communicate some tips and everything for your P&Cs today that will help you create a bigger impact and raise more funds, as we know we need those. So why does Containers for Change exist in the first place? And what can it do to benefit your P&C? So it can increase sustainability efforts. We can teach students about waste, recycling, and the circular economy. Raise funds, of course, for the school P&C or a cause that the P&C might be passionate about. It can encourage behaviour change habits that lead to a better future, reduce litter in your school and wider community, and also develop student leadership skills. So since Containers for Change has been around since October 2020, most people are familiar with it now, but I'll just go through a few quick stats on why it began in the first place. So every 10 years, WA goes through about 13 billion drink containers, which is enough to fill Optus Stadium 3 times, which is obviously quite incredulous. So then we started the scheme in October 2020, initially to reduce litter. It's since expanded to have so much more of a social impact because of that. And so previous to the scheme, only about, sorry, I will call it the scheme as I go, forgive me, so it's just Containers for Change. So previous to the scheme, only 3 in 10 recyclable 10-cent containers were being recycled at all. Fast forward to now, a few years later, we can say that we've now got 3.2 billion containers plus that have been saved from general waste, which is amazing. But we can also say that every year there is still what we estimate as 530 million containers being lost to general waste every year, which obviously equates to about $53 million worth of fundraising that is being lost, and the opportunity is huge there. So how does it work? So as I say, and as Debbie introduced me, so Containers for Change is run by Worrell, which is WA Recycle, Return, Renew, and that's who I work for. And so Worrell and Containers for Change, they're both a not-for-profit organisation, and Worrell is contracted by the WA government to coordinate the container deposit scheme in WA. You might notice across the country they have container deposit schemes, but there might be a different name. In Queensland there is Containers for Change as well, but it's a different sort of thing. But yeah, so that's what I'll be referring to today. How it actually works is through the refund points, as we call it, or the depots that you might see around. They might be called different things. They might not always be called specifically Containers for Change, where others might be more branded up there. But as long as they take a 10-cent container and give you a refund, they are under the Containers for Change umbrella. So there's about 264 across WA at the moment. The scheme is always expanding. We're always looking to expand, especially in those remote regional areas. And yeah, so that's those. So everything I'll be talking about today is actually on the Containers for Change website. You'll notice through, I think on the left-hand side, you click on participate, and under schools, you'll see a brand new website that was launched earlier this year. The website was launched at the same time as a whole range of other resources that we launched at the same time, namely the Education Guide, which we made in partnership with Waste Sorted Schools. And it's what we like to call our best practice tips for schools and in turn P&Cs. So the presentation today will be a similar format that will help you with that. This Education Guide obviously is free as a digital download on our website, so you're welcome to access that at any point, and everything that I mentioned today will be in there as well. So looking at how the Education Guide and in turn this presentation is set out, we've got it into 3 sections to make sense of it all. So we've got first our infrastructure. So obviously we need to have the means to collect the containers. So what I'll be talking about there is how you can get a free fundraising toolkit if you haven't already, which includes a free bin and bags and things. We'll be talking about perfecting your bin game, so how you get a bin, where you put the bin, things like that. Safety, of course, and building the 10-cent container knowledge and what is accepted and what isn't. And then the second section is education. Not so much the education of what is a 10-cent container, but education in how we integrate it into the curriculum. So as I was saying, we've got a whole host of resources we launched earlier this year in February. So in part of that, there's some school activities that I'll talk about later on. And so in the third section, it's all about getting everyone involved and getting the students to lead the way if we can and take ownership, and where to collect outside of the school and outside of the P&C. So starting off with infrastructure. So as I mentioned before, we do currently have available still our free fundraising toolkit. This has been around for a couple of years now, so you might have already registered your P&C for one of these, but if you haven't, it's an amazing thing. It's completely free, postage as well. It includes a Containers for Change bin of a different shape of size, depending on whereabouts you are, a whole bunch of Containers for Change green collection bags, and then a resource pack with posters and stickers and lots of fundraising resources that can help you out there. You're welcome to use that QR code scan there, but I'll also just be sharing the links of all these things I'm talking about today with Debbie to send through to you, so that in the post webinar email, so that you've got that to reach easily. So that's how you get your first bin. Getting additional bins. So what many don't actually know is that as a P&C, or as any kind of larger venue across WA, you are welcome to partner with your local refund point, who might be able to supply you and loan you a few additional Containers for Change bins. And then on top of that, they might be able to strike the agreement with you whereby they supply those bins and then periodically come and collect them, count the containers, and put the funds into the account associated with your member number. So that's that. And then there's also a new collect service, which I'll talk about in the next slide, which launched just this year. And that's a really great way of just booking things very quickly, either on your phone, through the app, or through the website. So I'll talk about that. So that's how you get your bins. And then it's looking at who will help run it. in an ideal world, we'd love to have Containers for Change as something that's actually embedded into the school when you're looking at partnering with the school. So in an ideal world, it would be a school council. It would be the green team if you've got that on the go. Or maybe you could just put it as year 6 are the ones that take ownership of this. Obviously, this is a great tip to just safeguard from the transient nature of schools with teachers moving through and students obviously graduating through. We don't just want to put this all on one volunteer's shoulders, such as yourself, or one passionate teacher's shoulders. We want to embed it into the school. And obviously, like I was saying earlier, it does help to increase those student leadership skills, and it's something they can put on their resume. And then where you will place the bins. Thirdly, there is important. Bin placement does matter. Seems like a simple thing, but you'll often find in the research that we've done that a very simple thing of where you put the bin actually makes a huge difference. For example, in events and things like that. So number one rule is you never want to put the Containers for Change bin out on a limb, because whether it's adults or students, no one's going to go out of their way for something like that. You've got to always put it, we always suggest that you put it right beside the general waste bin wherever possible. So that's why we've got things like our pop-up bin, which I'll talk about a bit later, which hook onto the side of the general waste bin to encourage that kind of bin placement. So our Collect service launched earlier this year. And as I say, you're available to book that. You're welcome to book that through the Containers for Change website or also through the Containers for Change app, which is a great resource. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Just go on to there, make sure that you do have a Containers for Change member number, which I've spoken about already, but if you're not familiar with that, it's just the number that you get when you sign up to Containers for Change, and it starts with C. And so you can use that across WA, and it is the number that's associated with your account. So you just go onto that, type it in, and so this is more of an ad hoc thing initially, if you just wanted something, an amount of containers picked up. You can also do this from your home and just from smaller scales as well, but it's great for those larger quantities that you might need picking up or just sitting there collecting dust. Similar to like your Woolies order for click and collect, you just do it and you just select how many you have and things like that, and then your nearest service provider comes and collects those for you. So that's a Collect service. Earlier this year, we also launched the Containers for Change shop. As we say, we are a not-for-profit, so it's all cost price there. But you are welcome to have a look through that one. It's linked on our website, and it's all of the bins and posters and everything that we have to possibly sell is there available for you to purchase. A great way to get money for this is to perhaps approach your local MP and see if this is something they'd be willing to invest into. Especially explaining specifically which things you're going to buy and things like that. Or also you could use your waste sorted grant if you have applied for one of those ones. I might talk about that a little bit later on as well. So just looking at infrastructure a little bit more, obviously it's worth and essential to look at what is an accepted 10-cent container and things like that. It's also great to educate those that will be actively involved, whether it's a few P&C members or whether it is that student council, whoever we've chosen to head it up, they need to be the ones that are across this. So where do the containers go? Where do we recycle? All this information is on our website. Accepted containers can get a little bit complicated. So if you need any help, you're welcome to jump on the app or the website. On the app, there's also a really great little feature whereby you can scan the barcode of any container to see whether it's eligible or not. If you ever have any little curly ones and you're not sure whether they're accepted, that's a great resource to use there. And then once that team has it and they know what they're kind of talking about with the accepted containers, you can then share that through whatever means you usually would. So the students could maybe share it at a school assembly with show and tell. On your social media pages, you could talk about it. And you're also welcome to share the YouTube videos and things like that that we have on our website, and it's also on the education page. So as I was saying, once you get it all set up, before you go full-fledged, or even you might be in the middle of it and you just need to give everyone a reminder, we actually do have a couple letter templates on our what we call our brand folder, which is just an online folder of documents that are free to download. And this particular one is for parents, just letting them know that the students are collecting. You can also, as I say, just mention that in school newsletters and things like that. Obviously, it's a great thing to share what you're actually raising money for when you announce that you're doing Containers for Change, or remind everyone that you're doing Containers for Change. Remind them what you're raising money for. Remind them of your progress, where you are at the moment. If you're not sure where you're at, you can just log on to the website and see how many containers have been saved under that member number. And partner with the school where you can. So moving into education. So along with the resources launched earlier this year, one of the best parts was that we've actually made some classroom activities. So these are relevant to pre-primary to year 6 with the subjects of HASS, science, English and maths, year 7 with the same subjects there. And there's also a VET unit that it's even relevant for, which is the Participate in Sustainable Work Practices. So those school activities are split into 3 categories again. They are deliberately 1, 2, and 3 because this layout is the way we recommend approaching the learning and embedding it. So yeah, as you can see, research and inquiry, then moving along to Containers for Change at school, and then the taking action aspect. So there's 14 of those activities, and a few of them actually have some corresponding printouts as well. Again, all free to download, and they are on our education page, which is on the next slide. So that's this one. So through the Containers for Change page, in the school section, you'll find a link to this one. So we call it our education brand folder page, and it's just a central location for all of the resources we have that's relevant to schools and in turn P&Cs. So you'll see there the education guide is right there for you to download or print off. We've got posters and signage, lots of different posters and letter templates and lots of things like that. There's social media tools to help you out there, and what's the word? Like save your time basically, because there's a couple there where you're able to say, this is a fund, this is the cause we're currently raising money for, and things like that. And all you have to do is drop in your information. The activity resources you see there that I just mentioned in the previous one, there's some videos that you're welcome to share in assemblies. And we've also got a few guides there. So obviously there's the education guide, we've got a general fundraising guide, and there's also an event guide, which is great if you have any school carnivals or discos or whatever coming up. It's a whole host of tips and best practice things we have for your events. QR code is there, but as I say, again, I'll share this in the link on the post webinar email. As part of that as well, we also launched 10 free WA curriculum aligned lesson plans for years 5 and 6. We partnered with cool.org for these, and they are great. They're free to download, and they are just sitting on this page here. You'll see there where it says cool.org curriculum resources. Quite small, but it will be bigger when you have it up on your screen. So into the third section, we've got whole school and community. So just getting everyone involved and making Containers for Change an everyday activity. So why is it important to embed it in the school? As I was saying, it's with the Nature with schools, you want to make sure that you've got it embedded so that as that teacher moves through and the students move through, it's not lost. Picking your captain and teammates there, it's not just figurative. You'll notice when you sign up as a group or when you log into your account, you are able to pick a captain and teammates. One of the most common issues or questions we get through our email inquiries is those that have signed up with personal emails, or a teacher's certain email, and that teacher has moved on and the school or the P&C are no longer able to access the account. So I definitely would recommend, if you're signing up with a more generic email and then adding as many teammates on as you can. And similarly, if you've had it for a while, jump on there and try and add a couple more teachers, or even if there's like, if you're in part of a high school, maybe adding some of the students, just to safeguard yourself so that you're always allowed to have access. And like I say, the actual login page is a really great resource, and you can even screenshot that and share it. So it's great for as many people as possible to have access to that. Only the captain will be able to change things like account details and things. So yeah, you can add lots of teammates. Review your school's waste policy. As I mentioned before, waste sorted schools are a really great resource that we often partner with. They're often running teacher workshops and things like that. And they've got a lot of resources for free on their website, as they're a government-run organization. So if you need any help there, just jump onto their website. And something I recommend as well is, you often see P&Cs working separately from the schools, which is absolutely fine, and having the separate member numbers. Maybe there's just sometimes where you might want to work together for a certain cause or for a certain season or something. You're welcome to do that. So just moving along here with some of our tips that we recommend. Promoting. So as I say, in that brand folder, that digital brand folder, we've actually got so many resources to make the promoting side of things a lot easier for you, such as those social media posts and things like that that you're able to use. The biggest thing is just letting everyone know who's part of your cause, or everyone that you usually communicate to, letting them know what you're actually raising funds for with your 10-cent containers. Letting them know what is a 10-cent container if they're not sure, or maybe you've seen a few people didn't realize, you've spoken to a few people and you realize sorry, I'm not doing this very well. You've spoken to a few people and you realize that there's a few of them that didn't know that juice boxes were allowed. And you could let them know. You could let them know that lids can be included. As long as they're separated, they can still go into the bin. Lid as well, just separated. And then just sharing your goals and wins there. So you'll see there Summerley Primary School made their own, what we call, donation tracker. So just keeping that in a visible spot, in a physical spot if you want to, or again, using social media or your newsletter to promote where you're at in your progress to a goal. And your member number is your secret weapon. That's what we like to say. So that member number, again, is that number starting with C that you get when you sign up. So because that number can be used from anywhere in WA, it really is an asset, because, for example, you could have students that are based in Perth, but their grandparents are up in Kununurra, and as long as they have that member number, they can be donating their 10-cent containers to their local refund point, but it will go straight back to their grandchildren's school. So it's worth sharing out there. You'll see there's a few times where we've seen local MPs actually make up little key rings to give to the P&C that are then able to give out to the community. And then when the teachers, when the parents rather, on the weekends might go to the refund point, it's super easy for them to just scan that barcode or just give that member number over, and the money goes straight to the school. I already said share your goals and wins there. And then also incentives and awards, really important. It can look different depending on what your school looks like. Lots of things we've seen that I'll touch on a bit later with the case studies is classrooms going up against each other. So you might get year 9 and get all the different groups against each other and reward them with something. It's especially prevalent in high schools because obviously they're a little less bothered about this. There's a few other things to worry about in high school. So you've got to have some kind of incentive there to motivate them. So it might be the pizza. You could, if you perhaps wanted something a bit more economical, you could suggest for the teachers to put in extra playtime if the kids reach a certain goal as like a year group or as a school. And then also, it's great to recognise students that are doing well as well. We do have a certificate, award that you're welcome to use and give to the students, maybe at assemblies and things, just to motivate them and reward them for what they're doing and their passion. So looking at where other than the school to collect, there's quite a few places, and you'll often find with the schools and P&Cs that are the most, what you would say, high performing, the ones that collect the most containers are the ones that don't just get them from the school, but they actually get them from a whole host of different things within the community. So I was talking earlier about the letter templates we have available. One of them is for the parents to know, and there's also another one that you're able to give out to local businesses. So this might be something you give out to local cafes and restaurants and things, where to them, $10 worth of containers isn't that much, but when it all adds up, it really does add up. So you're welcome to put into that letter, hi, we're from this P&C, we're raising money for this. Would you put aside your containers? And then they could do that for you, and you could go collect them if a volunteer did have time for that or capacity for that. At home. So in your fundraising toolkit, you get a lot of those green collection bags, or they're also available on our online store if you've already got the fundraising toolkit in the past. Rather than them just collecting dust, if you weren't quite sure how to use them, a great way to use them is to attach your member number, if you can, and then give them out for students to use and return on the weekend when they're at home, rather than bringing it back into school. They're always welcome to. Some schools do a kiss and drop sort of thing where not only dropping off the kids, but they're dropping off the bag of containers at the same time, which is a great one. But other than that, if you just give those green bags to students to take home, it's kind of a prompt because it has on it all of the containers, especially if it has that member number already on it, it encourages. And that's another one of the times where you want to make sure they know what you're raising money for, because obviously a common thing we get is you give them and then they take it home, and then the kids want their own pocket money or the parents need the money. And so letting them know what you're actually raising the funds for is helpful there. At the canteen, we are in the process of developing a little bit more resources for canteens and a canteen pack that we're going to be sending out. So it's definitely something we encourage. We do have some posters available and a few things already available for canteens. Some schools I've heard of do especially at high schools, they'll do like if you bring the container to the canteen, you'll get a Zooper Duper in return, or things like that. That can help. Events, as I was saying, so if you're partnered with that refund point, a great thing to do is to let them know in advance all the events you have coming up. So perhaps you already know you've got the sports carnival here, you've got this one there, and they might be able to provide you with a few additional bins for those specific events. Because in an ideal world, like we were saying, we want a containers for change bin beside every general waste bin, so there's always a choice. And if you're ever stuck on events, we do have that event guide there in the education page for you to have a look at. So looking at some case studies and seeing all these tips actually in practice, there are a couple that you're welcome to go read into a little bit more detail on the containers, inside the education guide. So we'll just go through a couple here. So we've got Mullaloo Primary School. So as of May this year, so it's probably gone up now, they've raised $2,700. So it definitely would be more than that now. So 27,000 containers. So these are a couple of the things they've done. So they educated the students in assemblies and things of what is an acceptable container and things like that. They set up a recycling HQ, or you could call it a waste station. It's an exciting thing for students, especially in primary school, to have that sort of a thing. And you can see there they've got their donation tracker there. We do have a donation tracker on our digital brand folder page that you're welcome to use, and you can also buy it on the online store if you wanted the one that's like a whiteboard version. Otherwise, 100% you can make one, even get students involved in making one. And they also did that tip we were just talking about giving the students the bags to take home. And obviously, letting the students know where the bins were at school, if it wasn't already obvious to them. So Ellenbrook Secondary College P&C, here are some of the things they're doing at the moment. So they've got clearly labelled 10-cent container bins in high traffic areas around the school. They've integrated Containers for Change into their Year 11 business curriculum. So obviously that's a lot easier now that we've got those classroom activities that you can do that with. I believe the actual subject there was sustainability. Sorry, the subject was business, but the actual topic was sustainability. So waste sorted schools, as we were talking about before, quarterly, I think it is, they do, or every now and then, you are able to apply for a grant, and you can absolutely use those funds for Containers for Change means and things. So Ellenbrook Secondary College P&C use their grant for trolleys and rubbish grabbers to make it easier for them. And they also recognise the student efforts with things like the morning teas and giving out those certificates and things, which is great. Callista Primary School P&C, who you may have seen from WAXO conference this year because they won the Containers for Change P&C of the year, which was amazing. And here are some of the things they were doing. So they placed 12 of their bins across the campus. So they would have had to either partner, yes, and it does say, sorry. So they partner with their refund point for that. So definitely worth reaching out to your refund point to see if they can lend you those additional bins, because it's not necessarily the more bins there are, the better, but we just want, beside every general waste bin, a Containers for Change bin in an ideal world. So, and they also created a friendly competition by assigning bins to year groups with rewards for the group collecting the most containers. They even went as far as engaging the community through door-to-door efforts. So they gave out some of those cards that we were talking about before with the member number on it to local businesses. And I'm sure as they were going around, they would have been saying, this is for the P&C, here are the kind of things that we do. We'd love for you to put your, next time you take your containers back, just take this tag with you. And then they also used interactive assemblies to educate and motivate the students. I might skip that one there. Oh no, I think we've got time. Let's just quickly go through that. So looking at a secondary college here. So this is Shenton College. Here are some of the things they've done. So they incentivize, as I say, for secondary schools and high schools, incentivizing is definitely a lot more, very important. They did a recycling competition between all the year 9 classes. So the winning class got a pizza party, which apparently went really well. And they even actually posted the progress of that on social media. And it was a bit of a, like I say, friendly competition kind of thing. And so that went really well. And then they set goals for each term. I've seen a few schools that might, as I was saying, it's worth knowing what you're raising the funds for. It doesn't always have to stay as the same thing. It might just be smaller goals rather than just a blanket, let's put it into the P&C. It's usually easier and more, it seems more attainable at least, to actually break that down into, these are the things we actually want to buy with that. These are the things we want for the school, or whatever it looks like, and breaking it down a little bit more. Or maybe there's charity that you're passionate about as a P&C, and those can change as well. And if you ever wanted the member number of a charity, you're welcome to go on the website and you can look up their member number there, so you can do that easily. And they embedded it into the school, so their student council actually heads up theirs. And as you can see, that not every refund point offers this for sure, but some refund points do offer excursions where a few students can come and actually see the process and just drop off the containers and feel a bit more part of it there. So this is nearly wrapping it up here. So all these kind of things we're talking about, so case studies to see what those kind of high performing P&Cs and things are doing, and new resources and all that kind of stuff is on a monthly newsletter. It's a monthly fundraising newsletter that we send out, specific to schools, P&Cs, community groups and charities. So as I say, we share case studies, we share the new resources, things like the fundraising toolkit. They would be the first to hear that there. Just general tips and info that we picked up, or we might share about resources we already have that might have been missed. And it's also where we'll share about upcoming webinars or awards or grants that you can apply for. So you may already be subscribed to this, but if you're not, you can either just scan that one there. Again, I'll send that through via Debbie after this, or you can always just scroll to the bottom of our website and you can subscribe there. At the end of the education guide, there's a really great thing, which is the checklist. So especially if you've been doing Containers for Change for a couple of years, or if you just wanted the too long didn't read version, there's a checklist at the back which can help with this. So still split into those 3 sections of infrastructure, education, and whole school and community. But yeah, it just helps you make sure that you've covered all your bases. So everything I've spoken about today does sit on the website. So as I say, you just go onto the side and where you find participate and then schools, and then on there you'll see this page, which was revamped earlier this year. So if you've seen it before, have another look because it will all be different now. And it will have a link to the other education brand folder where everything sits there. So you're welcome to do that. Okay, cool. So did anyone have any questions there? I'll just bring up the chat.
There's been nothing in the chat. Would you like me to turn their mics on so that they can perhaps ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
It might take a minute to go through, but we can do that.
I'm just trying to think of things that usually some common issues that we might have that I can mention if that helps. So one of the biggest things we get asked is how to stop what you call contamination. So obviously when something that's not a 10-cent container goes in the 10-cent container bin. So I did write some notes because there's always so many things to say for it. There's not a one fix for it. It's quite multifaceted. So those weigh stations help with that. That bin for bin thing, I know it sounds so simple, but having the choice there of the general waste bin next to the Containers for Change always helps with that. You can always lock the lid if you can. We do actually sell little bungee cord things on the online store if that's helpful. Trying to get the actual Containers for Change bin from your local refund point helps because it has that rubber flap on the top with the hole that's more helpful. And the biggest thing to stop contamination is actually just motivating people, obviously, so that they are across it and behind the cause a little bit more, so they're more motivated to not do that. So yeah, that's contamination.
Bethany, we do have a question that says, I have a question about templates. We were thinking of a letterbox drop. Which template could we use?
Yeah, well, maybe the businesses one. I'm just thinking. I think there's two letter templates there. One of them's for parents and the other one's for local businesses. So they might not be too relevant there. But I mean, you can always email me. I can draft something up for you if you'd like, and I can send that back.
And they can use it as a sample too. They can modify it themselves, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got a question. Do the pop-up bins have to attach to a regular bin or can they stand alone?
They don't necessarily have to attach to a bin, but they kind of have to attach to something. They're made of the material like IKEA bags. So they're until they're filled with containers, they are quite flimsy. So it helps to attach them to something. When we go on camping trips, we attach it to our bull bar in our car. So
that's a great idea. There are some people typing, so
right.
you may be able to turn your microphones on now if you want to. Okay, so I believe our PNC at some point were a member. Am I still able to verify if we still are and what our member number is?
Yeah, so that's something you're welcome to just send me an email about. So it's, I don't know, can you still see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just move it along there so you can see the email address. So that getinvolved@worrell.com.au, that goes directly to me. So if you just send an email to that, Priscilla, I can look that up for you and find it.
We've also had a question. We've been told the students can't do anything with bags from home if they have alcohol containers in them. Is there a policy about this? That could be a school-based policy, that one.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's fairly common. That's where it's usually the best situation to send the green bags home with the member number so they can do it from home rather than have to bring it back into the school premises. Because obviously, a lot of the containers consumed at home are alcohol containers. Looking forward to when eventually we'll have wine in the scheme. Um, we'll all be so rich. But yeah, maybe that's probably what I would recommend there.
So basically, so the containers aren't coming back onto school grounds; they're going to directly to the collection centre. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And there is another question coming through by the looks. Could you please talk more about the new collection services? Is it statewide? Our school is 3 hours east of Perth in a small wheatbelt town. Are you able to tell us which town, Megan? Bruce Rock. Okay.
I don't know
Beautiful
off the
spot.
top of my head where the nearest one would be to Bruce Rock, but it is statewide, that new collect service. All you have to do is just jump on the app, and then when you put in your location, it will tell you where the nearest refund points are.
Is there one
Like,
in Merredin? Do you know? Because that's probably, I would think that's probably closest to Bruce Rock. Merredin?
I'm not sure, probably. Like
Okay.
I said, there's nearly 300 across the state, so most places are covered by now. So hopefully, yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions? You can also put your hand, oh, hang on, there's some in the Q&A. So I've got two things going, which was a bit silly of me. Does the collection
Sorry.
service take a cut of the 10 cents?
So sometimes it can, yes. Not always. It depends on the provider that you choose. Some can take none, some take up to about 3 cents or so just to cover their costs of coming to collect, but it differs from the different providers. I just
And I
stopped
suppose
sharing
that's a
my
question.
screen.
That's a question that you ask when you start talking to them, I guess.
Yeah, and on the app or website when you do the actual collect service, it does tell you that. It's not hidden or anything. It's right at the beginning.
Excellent. If you've got any questions, you can put your hand up. There's a little hand that where you can raise your hand at the top, and I can unmute you if people would like to actually ask the questions. Doesn't look like anyone's typing. Oh, hang on. Yep, no, it doesn't look like anybody's typing. So do we perhaps want to just let people send an email? Bethany, what do you think? If they've got
Absolutely.
questions.
Yeah, for sure. So that's get involved at Worrell with 3rs.com.au. Welcome to send those there. I'll make sure to send those links through so you'll have the newsletter one, the one for the fundraising toolkit, the education page, education guide, and all those things. I'll send them through so you've got them there.
Excellent. Yep, sounds good.
Is there a new message there?
Oh, there we go. Bruce drop and go wheatbelt cash for containers. There we go. Somebody's looked that up for you. So
Great.
thanks, Debbie. She must be nice being a Debbie. Yeah, so there you go. That's the information. So she's actually found that on the app. So there you go.
Yeah, so that's a drop and go. So not the exact same as a collect service. That's just like similar to a charity bin. So you can just put those in there.
Excellent. So hang on, we have got a question from Priscilla.
Hi, can you
Hi.
hear me?
Hey,
Okay.
Priscilla,
Yes,
Oh
we
yeah.
can.
Hi. Thank you for. I've got your email details, so I'll email that through.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, do you or can we organise for a representative for Containers for Change to come out to our school? We're doing we do a Harmony Day event, and that's sort of become really big. And last year we had stall holders, so it's a really great community event. I think we got 600 possibly last year. Sorry, this year. And I look at getting like a variety of different organizations to come together to kind of educate, look at services and things that can be provided for our families. Is that something that Containers for Change would be open to?
So not specifically me under Worrell, because there's about
Okay.
2 of us that service the whole state for all schools, charities, community groups. there's like a small team of us, so we don't quite have the capacity to go around individual schools as much as we'd like to. But what I
Yes.
would recommend you doing is reaching out to your refund point, because
Okay.
oftentimes they are quite interested in these kind of things, and they might want to have a stall. So, and if ever
Okay.
anyone needs to find their refund point, you can just find it on the website where it says ways to return, and then you'll find it under there.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks so
No
much.
worries. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, as I said at the beginning, we will. Is there anything you wanted to add before I finish up, Bethany, or you?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, I probably given too much information as it is, so I'll leave that there.
Yeah. No, so we will send out a link to this recording, which feel free to everybody to forward on to people who might have missed it or might be interested. And included in that, Bethany will give me some information to send out, whether it's links or whether it's actual information included in there as well. And that can all be shared. We will also put it on our YouTube page, and so people can go and have a look at it there. And that's what you'll actually get, is a link to our YouTube page. But please use that email address that Bethany's given you, and if you've got any questions, and she will follow up with you as needed. So thank you all for attending. Thank you so much for doing this for us, Bethany. We do appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, everybody have a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you all at conference, because you're all in the running to win the top P&C award. So
yeah. Awesome.
Thanks everyone.
So much,
have
everyone.
A great night.
See you later.
Take care. Bye.